Good morning, it's Lori with Radiate Life with Lorelei. Anyway, beautiful energy coming in this morning. I was out earlier and it was really cloudy and the sun's coming out and this beautiful light coming in today. So, I wanted to come out and say, I may not be looking at the camera today. Just kind of seeing what energy's coming in for us. The fire of fire source, rainbow fire source on the bottom there here. Right here on the bottom, rainbow fire source. Beautiful angelic presence. May come and go. Beautiful cloudy. Thank you. Activating my ajna. So the reason why I wanted to come in here today was there's a number of things. There's probably three things, and let's see what I get through. First, I just want to say I had a really powerful session with one of my mentors. This is someone that I met at a time when I used everything that I had. I learned all these different techniques, and I had some kids that had some really big, empathic challenges, and really pushed myself to the limit. Was really kind of out and about, really listening to my inner guidance, and I needed, that assistance. I needed some more connection. And I had just come off an apprenticeship, and there were some pieces that I still needed to put together during that apprenticeship, right? So then I met another teacher, and so that teacher really helped me immediately. I had all kinds of problems with anxiety, OCD. My nervous system was shot, and basically it was just from coming in with a lot of energy, and I'd always done a lot of service work. And I had kind of put a pause on a particular kind of service work because, frankly, it was very limiting. Frankly, what had happened is, this is my experience. In my experience during that time, there was a kind of transition where there was like apprenticeship program and there was teaching going on. And then there was this, and I'd always been taught, like, whatever you have within you, you create with that. And for whatever reason, this particular energy in the community, which of course does come from top down, started saying things like, well, that the whole big certification thing came up, and they're like, oh, you don't have permission to use this information, and kind of like, you don't have permission to use these light codes and other things that you've earned the right. And I get it's not about copying content. Like, I get that if someone puts a book together, someone puts something in a particular way. But if you took like something out of the Bible and tried to copyright it, so some of the things were like that. And it was really a struggle for me because I'm a very loyal, and I'm very true to the group or the teacher or the mentor. And at that time, I was really only having one because I was part of a larger community, right? And staying focused on that. And anyway, so basically I just want to say the shift that happened here was there was a lot of ownership. There was a lot of kind of personality putting ownership on things. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to teach this. I don't want to step into this and teach this to other people, because the person I learned it from, who I still honor and respect, but I don't allow them close to my energy, is caught up in this. Like, this energy is part of them, and they are part of what we might call a lineage, or passing it on. And I'm like, I want the purity of this. I will just have to work on this. I will find another way. I know in the universe there's many ways, there's many lights, there's many paths, and that's where I was. So at this time, I had gone to another really intense program, and it was awesome because it really did provide me another angle. It provided me going into inner levels in another way, and it was really amazing. And this teacher, it was the last year that they were doing that. They basically had retired. So I was like just in on that last year, and I went, oh my gosh. I had one teacher who said, you've been with me for 17 years, and yet you're only allowed to teach if you pay for my certification programs. I'm like, well, that's not going to work for me. So now I need to go someplace else. And so then I had this other teacher, and then she was like, okay, there's all this stuff she was teaching, but we didn't, there wasn't the aspect of teaching teachers. There wasn't the aspect of, now how do you go and teach this? All right. It was more, and like I said, it wasn't like that was the whole thing, because I know there was more. There was that. It's just that I got in on the tail end, and the tail end was, whew, here's all this energy. And we didn't realize that she said, well, I'm going to take a year off and I might retire. But retiring for a spiritual teacher, I'll just say this, is that sometimes, well, a lot of times we've seen spiritual teachers and mentors leave their body at a young age, leave their body midlife, leave their body when they're really healthy, because they feel the call and they see what's coming up in the world, and they leave their body before that happens, or so they can be in the inner world, in the inner level, sending us energy, or so that they can manifest themselves here on the earth plane and bring the energy into the earth plane, right? Because they can physicalize it in a way that they can't when they're in the inner planes. And there's this relationship between those that are in the inner planes and those are in the outer planes. I have a really deep connection with the inner planes, because in between lives, that's what I did. Somebody had shared some of this perspective with me before, and then I accepted it. I'm like, oh, I get it. That's why this huge connection, right? So here I am, and there they are. And I think I've said this before, I counted this year, I have 23 spiritual friends in spirit, and all of them were on the spiritual path. 95% of them were spiritual teachers. They brought beautiful energy to this world, and they left early. They left. Something happened, their journey went out, and now I see them. So look at this time, they're in the inner levels helping us. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, so I don't want to get lost here. So I was in this program. It was very intense. I was there serving. I was there student teaching. I was there as an apprentice. I was using the energy and serving. And it was all volunteer, right? We felt really deeply grateful. And we felt like, you know what? We're not going to get paid for this. We're paid in spiritual ways, and we do it because we love it. And so there was a lot of really deep teachings that went along with it, right? Just very much like teaching in an ashram and empowering things in a temple. And I have other teachers in different lineages that have shared the same thing with me, and how to have that kind of beautiful energy within our own homes, within ourselves, within our homes, right? That we don't have to be in a monastery or be a part of a secluded group. We really need to be raising families. And those of us signed up for it, those of us that didn't. I personally and my husband signed up for it. So I had this teacher, and she did leave, but was really, rather than leaving her body, which she could have, but she decided to stay. And so what happened was she stayed, and she goes into higher dimensions. And the thing is that she is, it's so beautiful about it. It's the first time that I ever had an experience, right? Probably for this time and this timing, when this teacher who's going into the higher dimensions, but she's also here maintaining a physical body. And you know, I love her so. You might go to the grocery store and you'd be like, this is a higher dimensional being. She's, you know, actually, you know, in the angelic realm, and she keeps going higher. And she shares with us those experiences. So it's just really grateful, and this huge, unique perspective. And I'm so grateful to be having it, right? I'm so grateful to be experiencing it. It's like you could read a book about it, but we're experiencing it, and then we're like, well, we feel there's, you know, many, many, many people that she sends the energy to, thousands of people. And, you know, she's taught for over 25 years. She has, you know, over 10,000 students. So, but anyway, it's interesting because we receive the energy, and then we're like, okay, what was that? I love it. It's like energetic Jeopardy, receiving the energy, and then we go back and connect with it. And I a lot of times, again, I don't feel a need to name it all the time, because if I name it, then your brain puts it in a compartment. And if I talk about it, and we've called something the same name, but it's two completely different things, your brain is going to override the energetic component, right? You think you know. You say the word car, you say the word house, but everybody has a different image of a car or a house. You know, sometimes it's very useful, but in the energetic world where things are changing so quickly, and people have been so like, I'm going to name that, right? I'm in the inner levels. They're like, well, we're going to name this energy. Like, to name me is to limit me, right? So you have to kind of get into a place where more and more you accept the essence of the energy and you connect with it. And then you can have all kinds of different names with it. But this is how we really work together. This is how we really kind of have that universal language of energy. That's the universal language of pictures of within the mind, right? And telepathy is based upon that. And there has to be a certain amount of personal integrity with that, right? Because if you think things or say things when you're around other people that you would normally say in the energetic world, that's all free and available. And so a lot of people are like, I don't want people to hear that. And they think maybe there's not privacy, but there is privacy in your own thoughts. There, when I work with people, there's I don't dig around in their stuff, right? I ask for the messages. I ask for what I give them honor and I give them respect. And I have a really close friend who was in a really kind of a sticky situation for herself, and she didn't want to tell me about it, but she asked me to work with her, so I worked with her daily for a year, and I was getting symbols and I was getting messages, and I was getting these messages, and what was happening was that we were also noticing that I was getting the messages and I would say things to her. So they were maybe like symbols, or they were like would be parts, like almost like a dream. Like in meditation, I'd get different things I'd say to her, and I didn't know what the message was, but she did. She was like, I cannot believe how spot on you are with this. And I always thought it was just at that point it was just kind of hit or miss. It was, the beauty of it is in infancy you don't judge anything. In infancy you're like, I can reach into anything and I get a chance to feel it the way that I feel it, and there's nothing wrong in it because I'm feeling it. There's only rightness in it, right? It's just when you get too educated, when you get too defined into the mind, you don't allow yourself to have that exploration and curiosity, and you don't have that for other people, right? This is a time and a timing where there's a lot of people acting out of fear. There's a lot of people who, rather than saying what's on their mind, are like cut us off or don't listen to us, or they're acting like they're listening to us and they're not. So we have to listen to ourselves. We have to listen to each other. We have to keep our energy clear. We have to keep our own inner world, inner presence clear everywhere we go, right? And not be drawn to other people's, energies or frequencies or trying to pull us into other places. It's not even that they're trying to pull us into other places. It's just, that's the energy. That's just how they see it. That's how they are protecting themselves, all right? That's how they've seen it. But don't allow someone else's limitation or someone else's trigger to pull you back, all right? Self-reflection. What can I do with this information? What's the best for me to do? Am I doing kind of the same thing? Do I have a lot of things that I'm resisting, like I'm looking for a different answer? I had 10,000 answers and I haven't utilized any of them because none of them sounded great. It's like if you wanted to bake, a really beautiful cake, an organic, gluten-free, really delicious cake, right? And you got 10,000 recipes and you're like, well, did you try any of those recipes? No, I didn't, because none of them sounded good. It's like, you don't eat cake with your mind, you eat cake with your mouth. You eat cake with your senses. You have to give yourself more than one sense, right? That's what my teacher always said. Okay, that's fine. So here's one sense. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't smell good. It doesn't look good. Okay, let me taste it. So you keep adding senses to it, right? If you read about an experience of someone else, you still have to go out and have that experience for yourself. It's not enough. This is not how this plane of existence works. I'll tell you, in the inner levels, that is how it works. There's much more of that instantaneous. There's much more, but there's the frequency, right? And the frequency dictates what it is that you're experiencing, whatever that frequency is. But on here, we can shift frequencies. We can move through it. We can get alignment. We're here to have more freedom, but with freedom becomes responsibility. Freedom comes on using these senses, to not feeling like we're entrapped. We're experiencing this in a deeper connection, so ultimately we can free ourselves, right? So, oh my gosh, how did I get way over there? But I feel like that was what was coming through, and obviously from the light, that's what's coming through and being activated. But so I'm just gonna, let me just summarize here. So I was in it was a really wonderful community. I want to say that, all right? It was a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful community. But there was this point in which the leaders of the community stopped teaching teachers, and they stopped teaching in a more ancient, more traditional way of teaching people through symbols and through sound and through color, going into the inner levels. And then not only that, there was a certain amount of not wanting to lose people while they moved into something that was going to be helpful, yes, and also profitable, yes. And so there wasn't any kind of like, this year we're focusing on this. There wasn't any kind of announcement. It was just kind of like, no, we're just going to keep doing the same things and expect people to show up. And as a matter of fact, what happened was that some of the things that were taught were now like, I am not going to empower you to teach. Now I'm going to puts the things out there which I'm going to tell you, you are not allowed to teach this information. And not only that, I'm going to now, you've been with me for 17 years, but I'm going to put together a certification program, and you're going to have to pay me in order for me to certify you into that program. And I was like, this does not feel right. You know, at the time I was very confused. I did not know what's going on, and I was in the middle of having lots of empathic things going off in all different places in my world, and really feeling torn between two worlds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, my inner messages were like, you will not receive and have the experiences you want in this lifetime if you continue to stay in this community. But I was very confused. I was very loyal. I didn't see anything else, anyone else to connect with. And it was like, okay, there was one particular day, and I was like, it was very apparent that I wasn't going to be able to stay. And on that day, I was serving to the best of my ability, with love, with appreciation. I was giving respect and dignity. And just for whatever reason, this person just was like ordering me around, bossing me around, telling me to do things. And there were a number of students there. And when I saw the eyes of the students going like, oh, I can help. She doesn't have to do that. I'm more than capable of doing that. I can do this. And then she'd say like, no, she's going to do that. And really it wasn't anything more than like reading or, you know, picking things up. And, you know, the other students absolutely was empowering for them, and any other day they would have. But it was like, I was like, I don't know what is going on here, but when I looked at it honestly, right, I looked in the students' eyes and I looked at me and I thought, what kind of example am I for them? To look at me, to allow myself to be in this situation, to be around that energy, to be bossed around, and this is supposed to be a spiritual place. And I just kind of, that day, I went, thank you. And, you know, I have some other obligations on the calendar, but it is not in my heart to fulfill that, and it breaks my heart to do that. I'm giving you more than in a month notice. I'm done. And I just didn't confront them, and I didn't do any of that, because at that point I was like, I'd seen enough, I'd known enough. They demonstrated how they wanted to treat me in front of students, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And I have to say too that the other thing is, if you're not appreciated, even if you're a volunteer, you should be really appreciated. Like, you should really do your, so I've always held myself in high esteem. And if I have nothing else, I have my word and I have my actions. And making my word good has always been really important to me. And on that day and on that time, I had no idea that that was be the last time that I saw this person. I fully had other opportunities where they did show appreciation. And after 17 years of service, I thought, oh, surely they're going to at least send me, you know, a card, like just a card, just say, thank you for your service. You know, we appreciate it, and we fully support whatever you're doing next, because we know that your light in this world makes the world a brighter place. And, you know, we support you. Let us know how we could help. And that letter never came, and it never came, and it never came, and that support never came, and it never came. Until finally I had to even be asked to be taken off the mailing list, and I had to completely disconnect for them. And I went, you know, again, you have to watch how people are treating you. You have to watch how people how they treat other people. And I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that I don't know at work. I'm not willing to bring any kind of understanding on why it happened that way and what it did. But all I know is that those are things that I wanted to share with you today, that to greatly appreciate. You know, this is really a changing time, and this is really a time to be thankful, to be in gratitude, to focus on our strengths, to focus on other strengths. What you choose to focus on will only grow. If you knew that you were almost at the finish line, and yet you were what it's that last little 10% can take a lot of inner focus. I know that. We are all facing that finish line. I mean, I've had these many things that I'm facing my finishing line, and I still have more. I still have every day I have to face things. I can't, have the opportunity to let them fester. It's time for me to do the things that I'm needing to do and wanting to do, right? So I'm sure all of us are in that place. So it never came, the appreciation never came, the gratitude never came. But you know what did come? It did come from the inner planes, and it did come from inner guidance. And there has been so much support for me. And so much of it has come through my meditations. Many of it have come through spiritual teachers, and say, build it and they will come. Build it and they will come. And even in the last couple of weeks, I've had, physically more of teachers from my past come forward to just acknowledge what I'm doing, not just me, but everybody. There's been an asking, and there's been a receiving, and there's been a responding. We ask to bring this energy forward. We've been doing the best that we can with the energy. We've been saying, how can we figure this out? How can we stay more on track? How can we use this energy to move this forward? How can we get in that electric elevator and not move to the next, maybe move up 10 floors? And I can tell you, even this week, again, I had another huge challenge, and I had some, things barking at me and some things biting at my legs. And I'm like, I am staying focused. I'm moving forward. I know what I'm doing. And one of my other mentors is what I started talking about in the beginning was I called my mentor because there were some things that were going on. But I usually, I used to have a session with them weekly, sometimes twice a week. Plus I was also in 2 weekly groups with them, really intense, because I really needed to learn this really aligned system. And then I needed to learn it so much that I could master it at least a first level mastery, so that then I could use that with my family and in my own life to manifest. It was the first time that I really used something that I knew that I wasn't going to specifically teach. I'd never really done that before, because it's an energy that's kind of a component of other. It's like a turbo engine which empowers other energies, right? It's something that there's energy. Some frequencies are wider and deeper, and some are higher, and it connects the wider and deeper and broader spectrums with a higher frequency. So I don't really even know how that works, but that's how I see that it does work. And so even in this last week, I feel like driven. I feel like I wasn't sleeping very much. I was feeling like, but I was staying focused. I wasn't allowing myself to get off in the craziness. Even this morning, it was like, oh shoot, okay, I'm being triggered by certain things, but that trigger is making me put into my blueprint for next year some things that I'm wanting. I'm like, no, now. Like, I'm all in. I need this now. I need this opportunity now, and delegating that to the universe, as my wonderful friend always tells me she does. And okay, so real quick, so what happened was I called and I had made an appointment because I'm like, I'm integrating some energies, and I'm going to have more energies coming in for this, initiation. And I'm like, I need to integrate the energies that I have now, and how can I best do that? So I called up my mentor, and we've been working together. All right, we've been working together. Basically what happened is, in clearing something for the family, something came up in me. And at that time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel really nauseous, and I have something here. And so he was able to work with me, and just like that, it went away. Like, I knew we were working on something that came into my solar plexus. I'm pretty sure that I took energy from my family dynamics, and I started integrating it into myself to try to clear it for them, like a surrogate in a way, but actually taking on the energy instead of being a surrogate, which is completely different, which I'll talk a little bit about because I've been working on that too. How to explain that and how do we do that without taking on other people's energy. Anyway, this is the way it came through. And so I was able to take on that energy, and then within I want to say 2 minutes, we cleared it together. And it's a cooperative thing. It's not like someone sends energy to you. It's like you breathe, you experience it. It's not about the other person. It's about your perception. It helps you clear your perception, but you have to wash your own windshields of your car. That's what it's like. There's a car mechanic, but your windshields are dirty. You can't see how beautiful the road is until you clear your windshield. So that was like I needed to clear the windshield. They were supplying the extra ability to do that, to see with clarity, and to, like Marco Polo, I'm over here, where are you? Okay, oh, I'm coming there, right? So I cleared it, and I was like, that's interesting. And I realized the reason why I had that experience, again, is so that I could feel the impact of what is the energy that I work with by receiving that from someone else in that moment and how that cleared. So I can remember that as I connect with other people, and as I see clients, and as I help those community members, that this is how it works. And now, even if they don't experience that, even if it helps a little bit, but maybe doesn't completely clear the windshield so much they don't notice, right? They're not noticing. They're used to not noticing things changing. That I know that it does, and that I just keep pursuing my own tuning of it. And when they're ready, they'll come back, right? And when they're ready, they'll come back. The main thing I want to say too about the energy that I received when I had left this community is that there is a really important aspect for my own life, which is teaching, in which I do acknowledge I do with my children, and I do now more with my clients and with my services, right? Paid and volunteer. And then also I'm doing more writing, but then I'm also, after that, I started, again, being more part of global meditation, which I had been doing for 25 years. And it reawakened some other experiences, some times of being in other places in Tibet. And that came open this year too, as I did an online Himalayan Tibetan, really intense yoga with my guru here on earth. And my guru in the inner world connected me with this guru here on earth so that I could continue my studies through this guru. And it was very intense. And that set up another initiation, which then set up another initiation, which I'm going through now. And then when I met up with with the mentor that I connected with this week, and we cleared that energy out of my solar plexus, then they were saying, you know what, there's this energy that's coming in. It's a frequency. It's kind of like you're almost at the finish line. You're not quite there. You know, keep clearing, keep building your strength, keep focusing on that inner strength, focusing on the energy that's being sent to you. Receive that energy, pure alignment. Hold that and stay true to that. Stay laser focused on that. And so what happened is then that energy began coming in directly in the afternoon after I had that session. And it was so beautiful, because it was like a friend saying to me, not saying, oh, here, let me take care of that for you. They were like, I know you're going to do it. I know my part in this role is removing some of these things for you so that you could focus on that. And when I say that I have a session with my mentor, what we do is we actually both get into the energy and we do some cleaning. And it was like, okay, so it's like an assessment, coming in, doing an energetic assessment. Like, I'm not going to come in and take care of this because I respect you and I know you're coming to me because you want to stretch. So here it is. And some of it was new, some of it wasn't, but some of it is like it looks like a big pile of laundry in the middle of the room. And you have to have someone come in here and sort those piles. And they're like, oh, I can take care of this, I could take care of this. And so that's the one I need to focus on here. And then you focus on that and poof, all your laundry is done. So I think that's the main thing that I have time for right now, but I just wanted to share with you and share that energy and to go in and be the light and shine your light and focus on that. Make your list small, make your love great and big and wonderful. Get into nature and really give to yourself, give to others, and remember that you have to fill yourself up like a well, and then you give from your abundance. If you give from anything other than your abundance, then you're shortchanging yourself, and you're shortchanging yourself as a giver, you're shortchanging the receiver. So bless everything you give, receive everything that you have as a blessing, and use every little bit as a path to mark your way, a path, light your way, and know that it's your unique soul print here. This is your blueprint. Focus on your blueprint. Great love.